The weak August jobs report out this morning is just one more sign that the labor market and the U.S. economy are losing steam. So is a recession on its way? CNBC's Ron Insana swung by with his crystal ball to chat with me about jobs, the Fed, the China trade war, and whether we can avoid an economic downturn. Job numbers out this morning. We were looking for, 150K. They came in light, and we also had some census data in there. Can you talk us through what the numbers look like this morning and just kind of how concerned you are?
A little concerned. The economy created 130,000 jobs. I suspect by the end of the day, there'll be a Sharpie through it, and they'll say 1.3 million.
Who will do that?
But I don't know. But the government is hiring temporary census workers now through 2020 to complete that process. That will take a good portion of next year. So that boosted government employment by about 20,000 individuals, a little more than that, in fact. If you strip those numbers out, then we actually had fewer than 100,000 jobs created in the private sector, which is a marked deceleration from what we've seen in prior months. So given the trade war, given the global recession that we're seeing in manufacturing, it does appear that that's having an impact on the U.S., both in manufacturing and in retail, where tariffs are starting to bite. We know the Fed's meeting in a couple of weeks. A lot of people thinking that they might cut rates. Typically, it's a quarter point. I know that's not going to be enough for the president. Is there any expectation that they might do more than that? I still think it's probably a quarter point, but there are some economists now who are saying that given the Labor Department numbers out this morning, they could reach and go for a half. Why don't you want to see an interest rate cut? What does it signal to people? Well, I think that it's an admission on the Fed's part that the economy is slowing down and that they're beginning to worry about an impending recession. When the Fed is raising rates at the end of the cycle, the economy's gotten too hot. When they start cutting rates, the economy is starting to get too cold. So you really are praying for a Goldilocks scenario where the economy is just right. And we've actually been there for a while, the president's complaints notwithstanding. There seems to be this big debate or push and pull between, is the Fed the problem? Is the China trade war the problem? Trade war is the problem. A little bit of everything. There's no push and pull. Let's just say, for example, they figured this out in October and the China trade war is over. Would that be enough to help our economy? Absolutely. Do you think? Well, help the global economy. China would probably stop slowing. If tariffs came off, that would be a boost to global trade. And we've seen their exports fall off. We've seen our trade deficit really not move much. So, yeah, I think it would be a major positive, and you'd see the stock market rally even more than it had in the last couple of days. So for those of our viewers who say, I don't know that much about business, the economy, stocks, I got really basic knowledge here, Ron. I don't know what I should be looking for going forward. In terms of jobs, in terms of the trade war, in terms of the Fed, what should the average person who doesn't know that much be looking for on each of those things as we go through the end of the year? For jobs, if possible, to reaccelerate, and they will, because the census worker ad coming in the next several months is going to be large. So we're going to have some inflated job numbers. And do we have to take that with a grain of salt, though? Correct, yes. Okay. So economists will strip that out and tell us what the underlying rate of job growth is. For the Fed, they're going to cut a quarter or a half point. That'll probably be good news both for the economy and for the markets. It also makes housing more affordable because mortgage rates right now at 3.5% would come down even further. I mean, your daily life, as long as you have a job, a steady paycheck, some savings and disposable income, not much will change. And as far as the trade war goes, people would like to see that resolved because it may not be hitting your wallet now, but it probably will. Listen, farmers would like to see it resolved. Steel workers would like to see it resolved. Auto workers would love to see this resolved. GM's biggest market is China, not the United States. So you don't want a trade war with China over autos, and you certainly don't want one which the president has threatened with Europe and Japan. Well, Japan seems off the table, but it's still possible the president can put tariffs on autos that are made in Europe. That would be disastrous. That would actually probably throw us into a recession. I hate to do this, but I also love to do this because I know people hate it when I do it, but I hate to ask you to look into your crystal ball. But recession coming? Are you sure yet? No, I'm not sure. It's likely that we'll continue in this slow growth mode without necessarily having a recession. My base case is that we have something that economists like to call a growth recession, where it's below 2%, maybe between 1 and 2, and it starts to feel like a recession, but you never really see the economy contract. It's just too slow for everybody's liking. That's what I worry about more right now than an actual recession. If the trade war gets worse and spreads to Europe, if the Federal Reserve falls behind the curve in lowering interest rates, then you could pretty much say a recession in 2020 would be guaranteed, but we're not quite there yet.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.